무궁화 꽃이 피었습니다. 무궁화 꽃이 피었습니다. 무궁화 꽃이 피었습니다. 무궁화 꽃이 피었습니다.
Yeah, well, back to back in 1991, right? So I'm gonna continue my little trip where I left off after Cricket and Lacey from MS were killed. While they're trying to do a walk by on 18th Street, which is if you better know what you're doing if you're gonna try to come into any street for that matter, And as I mentioned, they died. So I'm not gonna lie, part of me was like, man, because I knew Cricket, and it goes back to like eight more or less, like 6 months before all this war started with us and them. We had a little situation in the middle of the street with some bloods, right? And he was one of the dudes that like backed me up when we ran up to him with just bats and a few shotguns and stuff, and yeah, that was like real wild. And maybe some people heard about this. Yeah, it got wild, and police, ambulance, helicopter, and all that was in the scene of the incident back in Vermont and 8th Street. So yeah, that's like they say, another crazy night in the city of angels, But so yeah, going back right to where to my gangbanging days. So I'm gonna bring out my crimey again in the story, which unfortunately.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Which unfortunately, later on, he ended up losing his life, like I also mentioned before this. But so this time, we after all this chaos is going on that night, we ended up going to Kenmore in Catalina over there by 3rd Street, like for people that are familiar with that area. This is all in that vicinity of Pico Union area, and but I remember I'm kicking it by myself that time. And out of the blues, my homeboy writes up Necio, and I see him, and he's like, "Hey, come on." And I'm like, "William, what's up, man? Where you get that car?" And he came with like a beige or cream looking Buick, right? Like one of those classics. And I asked him, "Hey, where you got it from, homie?" And he said, "Oh yeah, some dude was pumping gas in the gasoline, and in a gasoline station, and I just jumped in, and drove up, right? Told me, hey, so what's up, man? Let's go cruise around and see if we can find anything that we can get involved with, or just that's what we call it back then, we go gangbang stuff." So this time we take off, and we drove around all through that area, by Normandy so we're going towards Hollywood. So we're over there by Normandy, this little side streets, and a little side street they call Alexandria, and at the corner we spotted this dude, right, like just walking, with some other vato, and my primary tells me, look at them dudes over there. So we go over by the side of the street, right, and I take my hat off because it had a Detroit Tigers hat, so, and that's identified as a 18th Street hat, right? So I jumped out the car and I told him, "Hey, what's up, homie? Where you from? And old boy tells me, La Mara, So I told him, "Oh, all right, hey, where the homeboys at, and my crimey comes around. He got off the car, so he got kind of panicked. So he like, "Hey, what clique you guys from?" So once we got kind of closer, because of the tattoos, I had to take off on him. So at this time, I just started bombing on him, and the other dude starts running. So so my crimey lets off on him. And he ended up jumping like some little wall around there, and we get this dude on the floor. So my crime is telling me, hey, fool, like, what's up, like, let's jump, get him in the car and then take him to Hollywood, and just, so the homies, can see that we brought a guest, and so we started getting him, and meeting him up, and my crime shoots him in the leg. He had a 38 revolver, right? So we get him, and he just dude's like screaming and hollering and crying and stuff. So at this time, we're trying to get him in the car, and he holds on, he grabs on to the window thing. The window was down, rolled down, so he wraps his arm around the window ledge, and he's, we can't close the door, we can't close the door on him, and we're like, come on, man, So at that time, this little street, it has like a little hill on it, right? So you can't really see the vehicles approaching or leaving. So, and being that it's like about 12 or 1 in the morning, my crime said, hey, I don't know, but it looks like it has something on top, there's something on top of that vehicle. So he gets me hooked up. So I'm thinking like, hey, who is it? And he's like, I don't know. Like, come on, let's roll and stuff, So we jumped in the car, and luckily, well, if you want to look at it like that, we leave, and we don't make no noise, just like cruise, like regular cruising, and we rode towards Western, and by then we didn't find out till like later after the incident happened, where I guess they asked those dudes, hey, who, where they seen the dude on the floor, and they asked him like, what happened to you, and he told them, hey, the car just stopped by, and it was some dudes from Mason Street, So they made a call and whatnot, and we're cruising around, and there's this little bar. By this time, we're behind one of those old buses, and the RTD buses, for, like I mentioned a while back, people that are familiar from back in those days. And my grandma said, should I go around them? I told her, no, just stay behind them so they don't see us when we hit the main street. So there's a Chevron gas station right there, right in the corner. I don't know if it's still there to this day, but back then there's this Chevron gas station, and right next to it there's this small little bar where paisas hang out and drink and whatnot, but it's also known for where these dudes like got their slang on and slang dope and whatnot, So we go inside the gas station. So some paisas come to the car, and they're like, hey, what's up? You guys need anything? So we told them, hey, now we're just looking for some dudes from that man. What's up? Where they at? And he's like, hey, well, they're right there by the side of the bar. So we're barely like exiting the little ramp off the gas station, and we see some vatos right there, like yelling at us like La Mara Salvatrucha and Mess Gang and this and that. So they started shooting at us first, So at this time, I have a 357, one of those chrome snug guns, right? And my crime has like one of those 20 long 22 shooting kind of bullets, right? And I jump off the car, and I just told them 18th Street, and I started shooting at them, and like doom doom doom, and like I said, when it's at that time at night and midnight time, they're loud, because it's only you guys, and we start lighting off on each other, and they're yelling back like, hey, Mass Gang, and woo woo, and some paisas, everyone's running around. So my crime is like jumps out on the side and starts shooting at towards them también, and just letting off, boom, 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 and like 18th Street Gang, and we just like yelling at each other right there, and you actually hear the echo from the gas station and all that, because it's the intersection right there at Western and Hollywood Boulevard. So right after the shootout, we we get the hell out of there like ASAP. So now we're like, now let's go to Hollywood and go kick it with the homies over there, see who we run into, because there's in between those from that little area all the way to the Hollywood Gangsters 18th Street. You still gotta pass some other barrio named Rebels 13 and the White Sands, and the White Sands it's a big gang as well, an OG gang, and people are familiar with them as well. And like I mentioned, like we don't get along with, we still don't get along with no Mexican gang to this day. We always beef with everyone. So at this time we're like it's a lonely street, in the middle of the morning time. So this car gets behind us, and my crime is driving. So he tells me, hey, I think someone's following us, fool. So I told him, man, you tripping, because we were drinking and smoking P-Dogs. If you're not familiar, that's back then, and drinking, right? So I told him, hey, well, it gets you kind of paranoid. That's what I'm getting at. So I told him, hey, we'll go back to the right lane. So he puts them back to the right lane. So the car like goes on the right lane as well, and back and behind us. So we're like, oh, okay. So I told him, hey, well, hold on. So I have some more bullets just in my pocket, like a la brava. So I grabbed them, and in my head I'm over here cleaning them with my shirt, just in case you don't any more fingerprints than needed to. And I put a couple more rounds in the gun, and I just throw the empty ones out the car, and we get back to the other lane, and the car gets back too, like real fast. So I told him, oh man, let me see. And thankfully, I was about to, turn around and let loose a couple of rounds. And right at that moment, they hit us with the sirens, like broop broop broop. And I'm like, oh hell no. And my crewmate like, oh, what's up, fool? Like, what you want to do? So I told him, hey, boy, just keep driving. I told him, and let's try to get in the freeway. When we get in the freeway, we could we figure, in our heads, like, and the way everything works in your head, but it don't actually work in reality. So I told him, hey, we'll get in the freeway. We'll do like like a spin or whatever, and you go one way and I'll go on.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
If I get torcido or you get busted, I never seen you in my life. We don't know each other. And so they start chasing us. So I told them, just turn right here. So we turn over, we turn to the left, going towards the freeway. And I forgot exactly the name of the street that takes you directly to the freeway. But it's in between. It's all this little area from between Vermont and Western, and in Hollywood Boulevard. So we turn, and those old cars, when you open the door, there's this little thing in the bottom, that little button thing that flickers the light inside the car on and off. So just in case, I thought I must toss the guns out. So I opened the door, and I had to try to stick my foot and right in.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
I'm trying to keep the light that turns inside the car off. So I'm over here with my my toes, the tip of my shoes, stuck in the corner of the car, but I do get to toss the gun, so I toss my gun, and we turn right there, and about right before we get to another block, right before we pass this street, you can see like 1, 2, 3, like three or four black and white just with their lights on, just waiting for us to pass, so they can tell us. So I'm like, like, oh hell no, like. So I told him, go this way. So he turns to my left, this time, and right when we turn, like there's like 3 or 4 crash units, back in those days. That's what they used to call the gang task force, LAPD, just regular vehicles. So they start telling us now. So we have at least like from what I know from the incident report, we had like about nine or 10 vehicles, like on us now. So we're still hollering, so we see a sign that says, to get on back on the Hollywood freeway. So I told him right here, like keep going. So we roll straight and we can hear one of the vehicles, one of the LAPD cars saying something, but we don't know what they're saying. But most likely, that I know by the report that they were telling us to stop the car and pull over, and right when he turns, towards his right, to his left side, there's a little island, right in between the entrance of the freeway, right? And they used to have a little yellow and orange little light flashing, like so the vehicles could go like at least one at a time, so they won't have a gridlock right there. So right when he turns in, like we coming in too fast, way too fast. So I remember, like I just I felt like someone hit me in the gut, and the car just boom, like flew over that little.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And the car just flew over that little ramp right there, and no kidding, man. By the time that I snapped out of it, I looked over at my on my crime mate. He's like leaned over on the steering wheel, and I guess during the crash, when the car went forward, and we hit the side of the side of the entrance of the freeway, and this it's like a whole concrete side right there on that corner. So all his side of the car was like pushed in a little bit towards him, and there's smoke and all that smoke and that coming out of the front of the car. I forgot the name right now, but there's like all kind of smoke coming out of it, and I looked at him and he's bleeding. So I'm like, oh man. So I don't all the way around me. My head starts clearing back up, and I can see like all kind of lights and a big old light just going, moving like around us. And now I can hear them like they're telling us to put our hands up. So my crime is like, hey fool, that's it, man. Like what's up? I told him, man, well, that's it, my boy. That's the run for now. Where he puts his hands up, and it's crazy because as soon as I pull my hands up, I wasn't even aware that apparently we were like probably like out of it for like a minute or two, because by the time we put our hands up, we had the windows rolled down. So on my side of the door, this cop just grabbed me from my arms and my hair, because I had a sleek back hair back then, younger, and he pulls me out of the car and just drags me on the concrete right there, and moved me aside, and I seen like 2-3 cops hopping in the front seat, and just it looked like they were punching at my crime meet, but they were also dragging him out of the car, and he like, hey man, what the hell? And so they take us all the way to the little side of the road right there, and they're going to town with us, people that are familiar with the LAPD back then, right before the Rampart scandal. This was common, unfortunately for Latinos, Hispanics, most of us, it's been like that, and to this day, it's like that. Only difference now, there's there's people on cameras and that's catching things now. So they're beating us up, and and one of the cops had me in a handcuff and has my client handcuffed, and they're asking where you guys from? And so it's kind of funny because I looked over at him, and he busted one of my eyebrows, so I got blood coming out of one of my eyebrows. And I'll tell him, I answer him, hey, Walt, what you mean? We're from right here, we're from L.A. and so, the cop's like, what? You serious? You know what the hell I'm talking about? So he punches me again, and he's like, I'm gonna ask you again, where you from? What gang you guys belong to? So my crime is like, I don't know, man, I don't remember. So I could just hear him, like he's making all kind of noises when they're beating up on him. So they asked me again, and one of the cops has his boot like on the side of my face. So I told him, hey man, I can't answer you. You got your boot on my face. So he like, if you give me a smart remark again, I'm gonna. So one of the other cops like points the light like towards because when they had me, my hands are cuffed up. So he seen one of my tattoos in the back of my arm that says 1-8 on it. So he tells him, hey, that's a masonry. That's the guys, that's the ones that that try to kidnap the other individual. So I was like, what? Ain't nobody trying to kidnap nobody, man. And so this we found out later that that dude said that we're trying to get him in the car and and beat him up and this and that. Right? So yeah, so they arrest us, all beat up, and this happened in Hollywood, like I mentioned. So this is a Hollywood division. So they take us in, and they take you into their holding cells right there in their substation. And all through the night, I gave up one of my cousins, name because he's clean. So they're asking me, what's your name and this and that. So I gave them Romero, Carlos. So that way, my record or I already had heard that they were looking for me. So they waited till the morning. So in the morning, this other detective come in the front of the cell, and they're like Francisco. They're calling my real name. They're like Francisco Calderon. So my crime is like, oh, and they're calling your real name, fool. And I told them, don't even look over there. Just act like we're asleep. We can't hear them. But, we're facing the side of the wall. So the other detective says, hey, Romero, Francisco, that's you, man. If I gotta go in there, what? So I'm like, man, what's up, man? What the hell are you guys talking about, And I get up and he's like, hey, he said, your name is Francisco Calderon, right? And I was like, no, that's not my name. I told you that's my name. And he tells me, hey, well, you can keep on, you can keep on lying and everything, but look, these detectives are here to pick you up. He said that that incident that happened, the charges that we were charging you for, stolen vehicle and possession of a deadly weapon, because they did find one of the guns that we tossed out the car, So possession of a deadly weapon and suspects in the shooting. He said, and potential, trying to kidnap the dude, right? And he said, that's nothing. You know what you want it for, right? And I'm like, nah, man, I don't know what you guys talking about. So that dude tells me, well, you can keep lying, but look, he said, so you say your name is not Francisco, and I said no. And he said, hey, well, he said, it's messed up. He tells me at that moment, that your father has the same name as you do, and I see him, open up a folder, and he has a big copy of a color picture, and he shows it to me, and apparently, they had raided my house where my parents live at, and they took a picture of the family room and the family picture, and he tells me, hey, is this you? This your family? Is your sisters, your dad, and your mom? And he said, what's cool about this? He said, we didn't know, because we went in there looking for Francisco Calderon, but since your father has the same name as you do, he said, guess what? We had to put him in handcuffs. So, at a young age, you don't think of all the stupidity, that you're getting yourself involved into, and right at that moment, I'm not gonna lie, man, it felt like someone just punched me in the gut, and my whole face, it felt like my whole being just dropped off of me, like to the floor, or just complete, I was ashamed, I was like, like, it felt messed up. I was, I felt ashamed for, just having to put my dad something like that, that's in my dad's a normal, paisa, border brother, however you want to call it or see it. He's a normal, a normal person. He's never been involved in anything like that. So I was like, shocked, out of words, and I just, at that moment, I was like, I just nodded my head, like, yeah, that's me. And he was like, yeah, I thought so. Yeah, and that's that time they told me, hey, well, we're taking you to a Rampart police department. You're wanted for the murder and attempted murder. And of course, I denied it and whatnot, and so to fast forward a little bit, that's what I ended up, getting convicted for. And in the future, I'll touch a little bit more, what transpired, and you got to remember, like about 2 and some years in the county fighting my case. So I went through all that, chaotic, desmadre, if you want to say it like that, in the county with the Greenlight, with P Street that came out later on, and towards the end of 92, beginning of 93, and right around there's when I got myself convicted. But for people that are familiar with that, with the Greenlight stuff, that's when you go against the grain. And what I mean against the grain is when you go against the fellas, the Mexican mafia and all that, prison politics. So I was like, there's a situation where that I went to court that day, and I'm over here in the holding tanks, and dudes asking me, hey, where you from, and I tell them, and they were like, oh, what clique you from, and I let them know from the little cycles, and he told me, hey, you know what time it is, and of course, you're about to get your ass kicked like real bad. So get rushed by 3 dudes for going against the grain.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And then from right there, they cuff you up again and they take you up the the elevator.
You have 60 seconds remaining.